Hey, boss lady.
Good evening, Professor. How are we?
What do we got on tonight?
We got the Camaro SS.
Camaro SS. Drop that head down just a little bit. I'll try to be still. Well, we've lost you. It's just too much. There you are. Oh my goodness. Nice hat.
Thank you.
I'm not going to ask about the car. It's too much money for me. Well, you ready?
Yes, what are we talking about? Picking a partner?
Picking a partner. We're going to
Okay.
talk about it.
All right.
Well, let's see here. We're talking about marriage partners, right? Wrong. Hey, question. How many people do you know that have a business, but they have a business partner? You don't have to answer it, but think about it in your mind. How many people do you know have started a business and it's their own business and they don't have a partner? That's interesting because the response then is, how many people do you know that have picked a partner for marriage and it didn't go off too well in the long run? That happens quite frequently.
Right, right. Well, I kind of know, somebody that had a business partner and it didn't work out, so now they're on their own. But normally they stick together as far as I can see.
Business partners?
Yeah. Uh, but not always. That happens too.
That happens too.
Yep.
The issue becomes for me is when we start looking at marriage as a partnership versus business as a partnership, somehow we have different frames of mind.
Mm-hmm.
We look at marriage, and how many times has someone asked you, "Oh, are you dating yet? When are y'all getting married?" That happens particularly for friends, family, parents. And the reasoning for that, there's societal norms that are out there. If we turn around and we announce that we're engaged and then ultimately married, of course, some would say we now have been successful with adulthood. We have upheld the family values to have children, to keep the lineage going. We have crossed that mark, showing that we're dedicated to family, to someone. Mm. But the issue becomes maybe we didn't choose the partner correctly.
Yeah, and I've heard that a lot. Everybody's asking, are you dating? Are you, they're always
Mm-hmm.
wondering about um, dating or having somebody.
So, what if we went through the scenario where everyone's asking, well, when are you going to start your own business? Or when are you going to get a business partner and start your own business? Now, would we have the hoopla that we do then from a marriage perspective, where the family starts getting all excited? They're wanting to have that big wedding. It's a societal showing our status in society that my child is now getting married. Are they going to throw a big banquet with us because we picked the right partner to be a business partner?
Yeah, I haven't heard
I haven't either. It's a whole different perspective.
And sometimes the business partner is the
This is a spouse.
partner.
You're right. You're
there's
right.
different types too. Yeah.
So the point to be made that I'm going to get to tonight, we're going to be talking later about choosing a spouse, but we're also going to talk about a little bit tonight about how do you choose the right business partner. And
Okay.
sometimes using the method of choosing the spouse, if we can get around all the hoopla that's associated with picking a spouse and, marriage in 90 days or whatever, business partner in 90 days, and look at it from a biblical perspective, we may have a different idea on how we choose a partner. So I'm going to start with the story of Jacob. Jacob was the young man who stole his brother's birthright, Esau.
Okay.
Just as a little background, which we've covered previously, is that Jacob, his mother, Rebecca, had him dress up in sheepskin, in wild animal skin, in order to make him, for his father, Isaac, to believe he was the eldest son, Esau, when Isaac was giving the birthright to Esau. However, it wasn't Esau, it was Jacob. And needless to say, when Esau, after all this happened, he was infuriated when he came to his dad to get his birthright. His dad said, I already gave it to you. And then he found out, no, he didn't. He gave it to Jacob instead. Well, his mother, Rebecca, told him, "You need to get out of here, Jacob, because Esau's going to kill you." And so she told him, "Go to my brother, Laban, and he'll take you in." So Jacob takes his journey to go see his uncle, to live with him. Well, when Jacob got over into the land where Laban, his uncle, lived, he saw that there were a lot of shepherds around, and they were waiting by a well. And the well apparently had a large rock over it. And what they would do, they'd move the rock out of the well, out of its way, so that they could water the livestock, the sheep. Well, Jacob was like, "Well, y'all are already here. I'm here. Let's go ahead and move the rock." They say, "No, we have to wait later in the day when everyone gets here." Well, about that time, a young lady comes up. Pretty young lady. Apparently, very beautiful young lady. Jacob really liked her. But guess what? She wasn't just any lady. She was a sheep herder, just like the rest of them. The woman knew how to work. That's a business partner. Let's just start there. That's a business partner. She knew what she had to do. Well, when Jacob saw her come up, he turned around, he moved the rock himself. I don't know how big the rock was or whatever, the way that the Bible kind of talks, the men, plural, would move the rock. Well, Jacob just did it himself. He must have been a pretty stout little boy, or at least at that point, his hormones helped him become pretty stout.
Yeah, he got extra power.
He had extra power. He moved that rock so she could, give her sheep water. Well, he had asked the gentlemen that were around there, "Do you know Laban, la, la, la." And of course they did. And of course they even told him, "That's his daughter coming there with his sheep." And of course, after he had moved the rock, he talks with her and he tells her, I'm your cousin, more or less. He says, "My mother sent me Rebecca. She's a sister of your father, la, la, la." So the child, the girl, she's all excited and she runs back and tells her father. Her father then comes quickly in order to meet him, kisses him and says, "You're flesh of my flesh." She's all excited. And so the story continues then that Jacob worked for Laban for about a month. And then the gentleman, his uncle, came to him and says, "Look, man, you just can't work for me for free. Tell me what your wages are." And he said, "Well, I'll work for you for 7 years for the younger daughter. She's what I want. She's gorgeous. She is what I want." So he labored for 7 years. However, when it was time for his wedding day, Jacob was with his to be wife that night to consummate the marriage. It wasn't her, it was her elder sister, Leah. Oh my. Apparently, they didn't have candlelight. That's all I know what to say. Boy wasn't paying attention. Maybe she had her veil on. He didn't know. But he did find out the next morning when the daylight come up. So he goes to his uncle, "What are you doing to me?" "It was for the younger one I wanted. I wanted Rachel. I didn't want the older sister." He says, "Well, Uncle, does our community standard around here is that the eldest daughter had to marry first. Then the younger one gets to marry." He says, "I'll give you go ahead and finish out your wedding week, and then I will give you the younger daughter beginning of next week. But you'll need to work for me another 7 years." Oh my goodness. Talk about deceit, fraud, blah, blah, blah. But I want to stop there just a second before I continue. Think about what Jacob did to his brother Esau. I think that God sometimes has a way to kind of make things work out for us, or maybe teach us a lesson. Even Apostle Paul speaks that, if we do certain things that are mischievous or wrong or whatever, we can become that person forever if we're not careful. And so this may have been one of those lessons that God was teaching him. Don't be this way. Stop the mischievousness. Stop trying to take advantage of other people. So anyway, he agreed. Another spin, though. The Bible says that the elder sister was weak in the eyes, weak, weak in the eyes. Now, the Bible doesn't go into why. Other literature suggests, well, it could be a couple of things. Maybe she did have literally weak eyes, Maybe she was crying a lot because she had puffy eyes and crying because she was the eldest and she hadn't been married yet. Maybe she was crying. They suggest that she was thinking she had to marry his brother Esau and that then her sister could marry Jacob, age similarities, so to speak. But we don't know. But the Bible, when you look at the literature, doesn't speak that she was ugly. It was just that she was weak in the eyes. But it does tell us that the younger one was definitely pretty. But God also did another spin. He heard the cries of the older sister, Leah. And so she gave birth, and presumably it must have been after the wedding night, but pretty soon, to the first child of Jacob's. And on the other hand, God turned around and he sewed up the womb, so to speak, of the younger daughter. Rachel couldn't have children. She wasn't able to. Now, the spin here, then, that is also interesting is that she continued to have more children. So, what's that country song? Holding her but loving you. I guess I better go along a different path. But he wanted children, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. So he continued, the process with her, man and wife, the elder sister, in order to give children to him. Also, the eldest daughter also named them on God's behalf because she was so happy. She praised the Lord every time. In fact, she wound up having 4 children. Praised God and named them accordingly. And that's where we get the different tribes, so to speak, of Israel. Now, but you haven't said, Steve, that the eldest wife, the eldest daughter, the first wife, that she was that productive as a partner. Well, maybe the answer is she was more productive in the sense she was able to give him what he really wanted and what God wanted him to have, which was children. In both cases, though, one was looking at it, he chose the second one because she was beautiful, but she was a worker. I'm sure the first one was also. The Bible just doesn't mention it. And she was a worker in the sense that she was able to have the children that he needed. The point I'm trying to make, how many of us, if we're in that marital phase, so to speak, and if we think back to those days for some of us, were we really considering any of those points? Or was it based on just the looks alone? And in God's eyes, it's not the looks alone that works. And so now we get to choosing a business partner. Do you want one that's absolutely gorgeous, whether you're a woman looking at a man looking at a woman, or you want someone who can perform the work, that are able to maybe fill in your gaps, or maybe that you don't know about the particular jobs that you'll be doing, or one that at least can go hand in hand with you in the case, of course, having children, where they can go hand in hand and supplement you to help you so that the business will turn around and be profitable.
Right. Yeah, you definitely want to be able to work together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not done yet. I got one more story.
Okay.
This is a story of David, King David. Saul had died. David became king. And David apparently went into a particular land, an area. And while he was there, a rich man had his sheep that were very close to where David's men were. I don't know if the area, I haven't dug back to see if it was an area that, they had a lot of crime or whatever, but David gave protection to that man's flock. The man was quite wealthy, needless to say, in those times. And so when they have a time, they call it shearing time. And what the owners of the sheep would do when they would shear, they would also kill some of the sheep in order to feed the men and families. It was just kind of a gift back to them, more so than just handing them money. And so when that time approached, David told his servants to go and tell this gentleman, say, hey, ask him to give us some also. We've been here, we've protected, blah, blah, blah. We would like a little bit. Whatever he can spare would be great. Well, this guy was a different story. He was a different story, and he was what we would call back home a mean old man. When David's servants went and spoke to him, he turns around and he tells him, who's this David guy? the son of Jesse. I don't know who he is. It sounds like something today. Servants are running off right and left. How do they know? They're even legitimate, this guy. And oh my goodness. I ain't giving him nothing. So David's servants go back and report. And David's like, I can't believe this. All the good that we did, protected him and his sheep and his men, and we took nothing from them. So he tells his men, put your swords on, I'm putting mine on. We're going to go see it. He says, we're going to kill him and everything that's male there. Oh my goodness. So the man's servants turned around and went and told his wife. And the reason I haven't mentioned his name is because he's not that important. But his wife said that his name actually stood for fool, and he did a lot of foolish things. Wife's name is Abigail. When Abigail was told by the servants, this is what happened, and David's men have been good to us, and la, 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 and this is what your husband, our master, did. Abigail realized in her mind, there's a problem, and she needed to resolve it. Another good business partner has an eye out on things. In fact, the Bible said she was beautiful and wise. So we got some wisdom in there as well that the Bible gave to her. So she turns around and she grabs everything she can find. A few sheep that had already been killed. But she also had, cakes and so on, grain cakes and so on that she had made. And everything she could get her hands on, she put together and put on the donkeys. And so she goes out. She'd already sent her servants forward with the supplies, but she goes out because she's going to meet King David. And of course, David's coming down on the hill, from the hill, so to speak, and they're all ready, for blood. And so she gets off her donkey and she just bows right down to the ground. And of course, David comes up on him, and she says, "My Lord," and then the conversation continues. How great you are, that your God is so powerful, that you can take us all, but don't let this blood be on your hands. My husband's name stands for fool. He acts foolishly. Please forgive us. Take everything I've had that I've brought for you, go in peace. Don't let the stain of all of this blood be on you, whatever. David was taken back. And he said, go in peace. Well, she goes back. So she's going to tell her husband about it. When she gets back, he's having a banquet for himself. According to the Bible, it's pretty much fit for a king.
Oh, goodness.
He's drunk, and having a blast. So she waits until the next morning when he's sober. So when she tells him that what she had done, the Bible says that his heart failed and he turned as stone to what she told him. And approximately a week later, the Lord took his life. He was gone. So you got this rich man. Now it's her, and she's all alone. Of course, she could be in charge of all of this. But David heard what happened. And he had compassion for her. But he also, in my opinion, had a use for her. So he sent his servants back and told her, I want you to be my wife. It's like, I need somebody like you. He didn't say that, I'm adding that.
Mm-hmm.
But he needed someone like her. Of course, she immediately got her bridesmaids together, her servants, got on the donkey, told them I accepted. She took off to see David. We don't read anything much after that about this young lady, Abigail. But the point that I'm trying to get to is, yes, David was marrying these people, but they were good business partners that he was looking for. And I know he had many wives being king. Good business partners, though. And those that showed that they could work and had wisdom, he wanted them to be a part of his team. So my point to be made is whether we look at marriage or whether we look at choosing a partner for business, we better put those, what are the rose-colored glasses, do something with them. Because we want to be sure that what we're seeing is in the heart of the person, not necessarily what the eyes have to show. Because I think we all can say that in our 20s and 30s, and that everybody looks good. We're all looking, 90% of us look very nice then, right, physically. Our brains, who knows where they are. They may need a little doctoring. How did your mother once say to you?
No, she was said life started at 40 and ended at 50.
Ended at 50. I will.
Things started falling apart, and I'm like, okay, I'm feeling it. I'm seeing it.
You're not there
I
yet. You're
think she's
close, but
right.
you're not there yet. I'm definitely feeling it. So I think she had it right. You know, started at 40 into
Yeah.
So, folks, the point we're trying to make here, and you've already heard it more than once, is look what's on the inside. So, when people are asking, why are you getting married or why haven't you? Are you dating anyone? Flip it back on them, use a little wisdom and say, well, why haven't you started your own business yet? Who are you choosing as a business partner? And that's a little finagling, so to speak. Instead of trying to respond with, well, I haven't found somebody yet. I want to go traveling. I want to see the world. And the family's sitting back there yawning.
Mm-hmm.
Ask them and see if anybody in your family that they know of has started their own business. And then once you get them in that mindset and say, and how many of those businesses are happy now, a happy marriage,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because marriage is a business.
Yeah.
Choose from the
And
heart.
a partnership.
And a partnership. Choose from the heart.
Yes.
Well, I'm done here. That's all I got.
No, good stuff, Yeah. It's goes beyond looks, that's for sure. There's a lot more involved.
A lot more involved. But if
It's
you
not
have a
just
pretty
surface stuff.
business partner, if you're female and he's male and he's nice looking, or you're the male and she's the female and she's nice looking, maybe that can help your business. I don't know.
Yeah. Good.
maybe that might bring clients, either males or females,
Right.
or business, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Plumber, cable guy, I don't know, but
Yeah.
you want
Nice
the money.
additive, I guess.
Nice additive. All right, we'll leave now before I get in trouble.
Not the main meat, but it can be, extra.
And aside.
All right. Well, thank you for those stories.
Thank you for having me.
They're just so good.
Maybe you'll have me next week again. We'll try something else.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone
She's
for
still
joining
looking
us.
for a better business partner. Bye, boss.
Bye-bye.